Hey guys, Sean Madison here. I wanted to talk about a couple of my models here. These are all shadow models, but all the shadows are a little bit different. I'm going to start with the Shadow 1, talk about the Shadow 2, and then lastly, the mid shadow. So let's begin with my original shadow. The original shadow is what I would call a fish trying to be a shortboard. It has all the qualities of a fish. They catch waves really, really easy, but it also has this versatility about the board that you can surf it in almost any condition. It has a bit more foam, has a little more of a flatter deck, a little fuller rail, but some of the design features of this board is the E-wing and the channels on the bottom. The channels on the bottom give a lot of lift, and it almost feels like a ball bearing on the bottom of the board. It really helps the board turn up on rail, but one of the very unique things about this board is the elevated wing, which I would call an E-wing. The E-wing, what it does is it gives almost like two separate edges. And when you have those two separate edges, what it does is it gives really smooth transition to a turn. Usually a wing is a pivot point. And when you have a wing on a rail and you turn off of it, it can be an abrupt turn, whereas sometimes you want to be applying that pressure and you want a longer turn. So this can elongate that turn to have a long drive down the line sensation with this board. But once you want to really utilize the wing, you step over on it and it turns just like a regular wing. So it's a really unique board, super user friendly, and crazy fun. Now, I wanted to do a little change from the Shadow being more of a fish with a round tail to more of a short board with all the qualities of a fish. Have a little bit more of those beneficial elements. So what I did with the Shadow 2, this is the Shadow 2, is you can see the nose here versus the nose here. It has a much narrower nose. So when you have a narrower nose, the board will fit up into the pocket, especially in a hollow situation where a fuller nose has a hard time fitting. This board also, the bottom's quite a bit different. As I put a channel on this one, what I did was heavy concaves with this board, and it really scoops out on both sides of the stringer, and that really allows the board to roll and pivot, and it picks up a ton of speed. Now the rockers, the nose to tail rocker, this has a flatter nose entry where it has more rocker going off the tail. It's almost like a skateboard, if you will, whereas this is a little flatter off the tail and then has more nose rocker. So they're kind of different in the fact that the layouts of them, even though it has similar tail designs. Now this board and this board can be ridden as a thruster, as a 4-fin, a 5-fin with a little nub, or even a twin with a trailer. Really, really fun. I've been riding this board lately as a twin with one of my kicker fin nubsters, and it's so fun, where typically I ride this as a quad. But really good waves, super fast, super versatile, this one here, the original. But you could literally have these two boards in your quiver and they would surf a lot of different kinds of waves, even though they have similar tail designs. Now, moving into the mid shadow, what I do with the mid shadow is as you stretch out a board from being little to being big, you have to add rocker to the board overall. And when you add rocker, it just allows the board from being, it keeps it from being too flat, and it can roll into the wave easy because the board is so much longer. It fits the curve of the wave as you go into a longer board. So I added deck rocker and nose rocker on the bottom so that it has a really nice natural bend to it. This board right here, you can go with the mid shadow, you can go from 6'6" up to 8 foot. I've done bigger ones, but 6'6" to 8 foot, the stretching of the board, it really, really works. I've also done this model just as a twin fin, so I call it the mid shadow twin, where it's really the same board, has the E-wing like the original, has the channel like the original one, But when you make this a twin fin, it really frees the board up to be super loose. So this becomes a board that you can tune, and it's great at catching waves. It has the volume like the original, where it's a fuller rail, a little bit thinned out because it's such a big board. So when you have a 2 3/4 inch thick board, you're gonna find that the rail, just on the top of the rail, it's tucked down a little bit so you can put the rail in the water. All of my boards I typically make out of EPS, expanded polystyrene, usually using 2-pound foam. All the boards are glassed with epoxy resins, and you'll find that epoxy resins and the EPS tend to have about 10% more buoyancy just in the way that they float, but they're really lively. And for me, like, I like having boards that are light and loose, even though they're big. So I just feel like when I have a board that's big and it's too heavy, I have to think about the way that it surfs too much. So this is really, again, the breakdown: shadow 1, shadow 2, and the mid shadow, and that's the wrap.